Eastview family, happy Friday to you. We are almost done with the first full week of 2024. That is crazy to believe that we are rocking and rolling in 2024. I hope that you've had some time this week to reflect. One of the things that I've learned both as a counselor in my training, but also just in my own life and journey is that in order to maybe understand what God's about to do, it's helpful to look backward. You look backward to look forward. As I look back on 2023, there were many questions that I had along the way. As a church family, we went through something that nobody anticipated a year ago at this time. And with Mike leaving and all the things that we needed to go through and figure out as a church family, but there's a thread in the midst of that. As I look backwards, I see God's sovereignty in it all the way through. That God is sovereign, his promises are true, and that what we find in his word can sustain us. And as I look backwards, I was reminded of that. As I even think of my own family, Team Sniff, we had a lot of roller coasters ourselves just as a family, not just as Eastview and a church family, but my own family with some of my adult-ish kids. We were on some roller coaster rides. And I ask God a question often of like, what is going on here? What are you doing? I don't get it. And what do I need to do in the midst of all of this? Who do I need to be? And as I look backwards, I see God's sovereignty playing all the way through my own family situations in 2023. I say all that to say that I really want to look at this angle today from John 18 of God's sovereignty, that in the midst of surrendering and a vulnerability of being arrested, there's prophecy that was being fulfilled. And the sovereignty of God and of Jesus played itself through this whole entire story. So real quick, John 18, I encourage you to go back to it, but I just want to highlight a few verses. Verse 8, they said that they were looking for Jesus of Nazareth. And again, Jesus answered, I told you that I am he. So if you seek me, let these men go. He's talking about his followers that were with him. Verse 9, this was to fulfill the word that he had spoken, of those whom you gave me, I have lost not one. And then around that time, Simon Peter picks up some courage and he picks up a sword and cuts a servant's ear off. And Jesus is like, wait a minute. Put your sword away into its sheath. Shall I not drink the cup that the Father has given me? He's saying, Peter, look, there is a plan here. There's a sovereign plan that is being played out. Do you trust me? And do you trust that this is God's will? That's a really interesting question. Another version, another angle of this story in Matthew 26, this garden scene, Jesus is saying, put your sword back in its place. For all who take the sword will perish by the sword. Do you think that I cannot appeal to my Father, and he will at once send me more than 12 legions of angels? But how then should the scriptures be fulfilled, that it must be so? He's saying, look, guys, there's a plan here, and we need to do it this way. Do you trust me? It's a good question for you and I today as we jump into 2024. Not just how did you see God work in the past so that you might be able to see clues of how he's doing right now, but do you trust in the sovereignty of God in your situations today, whatever they may be, in your relationships, in your work, in your family, in things that just feel out of control and that there's chaos there? Do you trust in the sovereignty of God to be played out in the midst of this? What Jesus is saying to his fathers, I believe, and what I think he's saying to you and I today is this: do you trust me and follow me as I trust and follow the Father? So here's a question for you just to consider today and to ponder. Where might you be doubting God's sovereignty in your life today? Think about today and the things that you have in your mind, in your heart, maybe as responsibilities. Do you trust in God's sovereignty in those things today? And where might you be overstepping and trying to take control of this, just like Peter did? Where might you be overstepping and trying to take control that you might just need to surrender to the sovereignty of God? I don't know what that will be like for you today, but I look forward to diving into this. Guys, thanks so much. Happy Friday to you. I hope to see you on Sunday. Here's to a great day in the Lord.